We ended up in this mountaintop village, which is stunning. By turning up in a tuk-tuk, the village people are the ones who go, wow. So it puts it all on its head. Rather than me going to see if I could find somewhere to stay and if I could bring people to visit and stuff, there was this immediate contact. It was just brilliant.
This is Jed Brown, founder of Low Season Traveller, and on today's show we're going to look at a familiar destination in Southeast Asia, but seen in an unfamiliar way. Today's guest, Bruce Haxton, is the founder and CEO of the Tuk Tuk Club, which runs tours of Chiang Mai and Northern Thailand in, well, you've guessed it, tuk-tuks, without a doubt Thailand's most iconic form of transport. Bruce had been travelling and living in Thailand for many years after having run tourism businesses in the region for well over a decade, when he happened upon the idea of talking his Thai friend into lending him his tuk-tuk, so Bruce could get out and explore more of Thailand. What happened next literally changed his life. Bruce enjoyed such a positive experience whereby his interactions with the locals were heightened every time he turned up to a new village in his tuk-tuk. When he returned from this trip, he was so overawed with the experience, he decided to set up a new company so that others could experience Northern Thailand in a more authentic way, just as he had done. I caught up with Bruce to find out more about Northern Thailand and why it's best experienced from a tuk-tuk in the low season. Enjoy. So, good morning, Bruce, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jed. Morning to you too.
Great to have you here. I should say good afternoon because it's late afternoon, early evening there, right?
It is, yeah. Just the end of the day. The lovely sunset just going down here.
Beautiful. Very different from where I am right now.
I can imagine.
So Bruce, you've had a long and rich history with Thailand and with Northern Thailand in particular. I'd like to just start by, if you could just tell us the story of your relationship with Thailand.
Gosh, well, I could bore you for years with that, Jed, but I first came to Thailand in 1988, like many young people, with a backpack on my shoulders, and was blown away by how beautiful it was and so many different experiences. It's changed a lot since then, but I thought I'd never work here. I'd seen some people walking around in suits and ties looking like they were about to melt, and I just thought, no, that's not for me. Lo and behold, a couple of years later, I was here working. And that was in the early mid-90s. And ever since then, really, I've been strongly connected with Thailand, either living, working here, or sending business here in terms of the travel industry, and had a home here since, since about 2002, 2003.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been a long part of my life, Thailand.
I've never been to Northern Thailand, although it is on my hit list, on my bucket list. I've been to the islands many times, and I guess a lot of people that are listening might have travelled to the islands of Thailand, but perhaps they've never visited Northern Thailand. How is the experience different in Northern Thailand from the islands and beaches for those that haven't been there?
For me, it's chalk and cheese. The islands and the beaches can be beautiful. In fact, many of them are stunning. But the north of Thailand's just got a real magic. You're a million miles away from sunbirds, speedboats, and all this sort of stuff. And it's a far more laid-back way of life. Scenery is just out of this world. And the people, this sounds a bit crass maybe, but the people in northern Thailand remind me of how southern Thailand was 30 years ago when I went there, sort of very gentle, laid back, and life was a little bit slower. Southern Thailand seems to have speeded up a bit. Northern Thailand still has that charm.
Is it similar then to the way in which it was 20 years ago? It's not quite as, commercial as southern Thailand?
There still is. Chiang Mai is a thriving city, and it's very, very busy, both with, it's a busy commercial area and very busy with visitors. But once you get an hour outside of the city, it is I don't like saying stepping back in time, because I feel that might be rude to the people who live there.
Yes.
But in terms of my sense, it hits all the things I enjoyed 30 years ago while still being up to date, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
People have got more time for each other. I think that you're not surrounded by coachloads and coachloads of other people. I enjoy that. I'm not a crowd person. And you just have that lovely, you see that natural, honest smile greeting more than perhaps you do where people's lives are much busier.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I guess then the Thais are famed for their hospitality, and I guess that sort of stretches into the people from Northern Thailand as well, right?
Absolutely. I think in my experience, I've been all over Thailand more times than I can count. And the North always sticks out as being a very, very genuinely warm place to visit. The Northeast is also very open and genuine. But the North's got something special about it, that people seem to have time for visitors in Northern Thailand.
I love that. And what types of people travel to Northern Thailand? What kind of tourists or travellers do you tend to get in Northern Thailand?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jed. And part of me would say, well, all sorts. That classic Thailand holiday is still Bangkok for 2 or 3 nights, a couple of nights in Chiang Mai, and then a week at a beach. But I think the people who get out of Chiang Mai, let's say out of Chiang Mai city, tend to be those who are looking for a little more greenery rather than seaside. They're not as interested in broiling on the beach. And they want to sort of get away from the crowds and just experience something a little bit different. So you still get the full range of age groups and source countries, but it just seems to be people who've got that extra little bit of interest in perhaps the culture, the flora, the fauna, all that sort of stuff, without making people sound boring. We're not talking people going around, with I Spy books ticking off every plant they see. But it's people who just want to see something a little bit different that perhaps you can't get anywhere else in the world.
You've obviously based yourself in Northern Thailand, and you've set up your company called the Tuk Tuk Club, which is a brilliant idea and a brilliant concept. Talk us through the concept and talk us through how you came up with the idea, I guess.
Well, firstly, thanks, Jed. Secondly, just cut me off when I send you to sleep, because I could talk about this for hours.
Brilliant.
The concept came from, I've been working in travel a long time, and I moved back to Thailand 6 years ago. I was working for a great company, but involved in soft adventure travel. And I was looking around at what everybody else does and the competitors do. And it felt to me that soft adventure travel, which is most adventure travel, was getting a bit samey and all a bit boring. Now, that's very much an insider's view, because the people traveling with those companies were having a superb time, because there are some awesome companies out here. But it just felt to me it was all a bit samey, and where's the adventure gone? Where's the slightly unknown bit of travel gone? So that had been ticking around my head for a while. Then I've always sort of loved tuk-tuks, but I've never been one of those guys who would have a few beers in the middle of Bangkok and persuade a tuk-tuk driver to let me have a go. So eventually, I know a tuk-tuk driver on the outskirts of Bangkok, known him 25 years. And after many discussions, one of his friends agreed to rent me his tuk-tuk for a few weeks, which was a huge, gosh, that man, I've got so much to thank him for, but wow, he trusted me. So myself and a friend, we just headed off to the north, thinking, let's explore the mountains by tuk-tuk. Everybody said you couldn't do it. They said, tuk-tuks can't go up mountains. And in some cases with this particular tuk-tuk, they were right. What we also didn't realise was that LPG gas isn't the greatest fuel to have in Haxton province, because there aren't many places you can buy gas. A few thousand kilometres and a few weeks later, I got home and I was buzzing. It was the best travel experience I'd had for such a long time. And I sort of thought, well, if I've been knocking around in travel for a long time, I've been lucky enough to do some great things and visit some wonderful places. But if I've got excited by this and I won't stop talking about it, then A, it would be rude not to share it with others, and B, why wouldn't other people enjoy it? So then there was a whole load of thumb sucking and navel gazing as to how we do it. But that was effectively why I set up the Tuk Tuk Club. I had an absolutely fantastic experience, and the friend who went with me, who's Thai, also was blown away by the places he saw and the people we met. And I just thought, this must work. This is what a great opportunity for people who want to do something a little bit different. So we fast forward the clock, and here we are with the Tuk Tuk Club, taking people around Northern Thailand.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about. I was looking on the website, and we've spoken about it before about the kind of reception that you get when you arrive on a tuk tuk. Tell us what it's like for these travellers that join you on these tours and travel in the tuk tuks. What kind of a reception do they get when they pull into these areas of Northern Thailand, these villages?
I think, Jed, you've hit on one of the sort of highlights and the intangibles that we're lucky enough to have. We will pull up to a village or a town or a community, and firstly, a tuk-tuk itself is a rarity in those areas, so it's a bit of a novelty. Then to see foreigners with them is even more of a novelty. And what seems to happen is, instead of the traveller jumping out of their vehicle to take photos, it's the other way around. We get people, can we take selfies with you, rather than the other way around, which I think turns the whole tourism dynamic on its head in a very nice way, and it immediately breaks down those barriers. Everybody's got something to talk about that's sort of a natural conversation, rather than the sort of same old, oh, what are you planting now? What are you harvesting next week? There seems to be a very natural human reaction between both parties, and the tuk-tuk facilitates that. It seems to me, anyway.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that. And then in terms of the tours that you run, do you run different tours all around Northern Thailand, or is it one sort of set itinerary which you tend to follow?
Well, we have 4 different trips, and the difference is durations. We have a 1-day, 4-day, no, we don't. We have a 1-day, 3-day, 5-day, and 11-day adventure. Now, they all follow their own itinerary. The reason we do that, Jed, is that we want to make sure that the experience is managed. It may be something different and adventurous, but that doesn't mean people travelling don't deserve, and quite rightly deserve, 5-star service and the best experience. We also need to make sure that the routes we take are appropriate, and we also want to ensure that the places we visit are happy to be visited by not just one person, but maybe a group of 10 people. We don't want to turn up unannounced and upset anybody. So they do follow set itineraries, but that also means that we're not taking 100 people a day around these itineraries. So it's still a very exclusive, very unique experience. There's not a coach load of people turning up.
And then in terms of these the tours that you have in the itineraries, what are the must-do and see things to experience on a trip to Northern Thailand? Which are the most popular tours for you, or the most popular, I guess, sites on the tours?
Well, I mean, our trips, the most popular are the 1-day trip, because everybody who comes to Chiang Mai can do that. And then our 11-day trip, which really is, the 11-day trip really is the highlights, the non-known highlights of Chiang Mai and Mae Hong Son. I'm not saying they're all secret, far from it, but they're not widely visited. I think on people on our trips, that the highlights tend to be, we visit some very remote rural temples, and we make merit there. And the adventure has a blessing, and we spend a lot of time translating between the monks and our group of travellers. People really enjoy that, because they're the only people who go to that temple, and they feel it's a very unique, rightly, experience. The scenery is incredible. Some of the villages we pass through are absolutely wonderful, and they're not sort of designated eco-tourism villages. Nothing wrong with that. But what I mean is they're not on the main route of anyone. So you tend to see exactly what is a working village, rather than a village that's got a couple of coffee shops set up for the tour group that come through. Other than that, I would say Mae Hong Son town is a huge highlight. It's a beautiful place. I don't understand why more people don't go there. It's one of the jewels of anyone's trip to Northern Thailand. And also a small town called Mae Salieng, which is it's pretty much the last town. When you head west from Chiang Mai, it's pretty much the last town before, it is the last town before you get to the Burmese border. And it's a wonderful place. Best summed up by the fact you always get the feeling that the people who live there are really happy to see you, but likewise, they really wouldn't mind if you weren't there. And for me, that's always been the best place to travel to.
It's the perfect mix, isn't it? Perfect balance.
Yeah, and so our travellers really enjoy that, because they get made to feel very welcome, and they can experience a really nice small Thai town going about its business. But there's no one trying to sell anything. There's no one It just feels very natural.
In terms of the times to go and the busy times, and I know that Thailand generally has different sort of seasons. Talk us through the different seasons that you have in Northern Thailand.
Well, in the north, I mean, the high season really is mid-November through till mid-February, because the weather's fantastic. There's blue skies. There might be a bit of rain, but blue skies. Not as hot during the day, sort of low 20s, early 30s, and the evenings, particularly up in the mountains, can get pretty cold.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice sort of contrast during the day, and that's a busy time for international visitors, but also for Thai travellers coming up to the north. It's a wonderful time, but the busiest time. Then we head into the hot season, which we're just heading into now. I was chatting to you earlier, it was about 38 this afternoon. The hot season is hot, surprisingly, but you still get lovely, cooler mornings and evenings. It's not the Bangkok heat where you're still sweating at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. And once you get up into the mountains, it just takes that edge off things. So I quite like the hot season because you tend to see sort of life at a bit more raw level. The rice isn't growing, the leaves are beginning to fall off, and it just feels you're seeing life a little bit more on the edge. Is it going to rain? Is the harvest going to be good? I find that's quite an interesting time to visit somewhere. Then you hit the rainy season, which a lot of people avoid. The north of Thailand like the plague in the rainy season. I would suggest that the rainy season is one of the best times to come. It's really quieter. The rains can be spectacular. It's rare that it rains. This is a typical thing people say, isn't it? Oh, it doesn't rain all day. It can rain all day, but it's rare. But you get huge downpours that just take the breath away. Everything is so green. The waterfalls are incredible. The flowers are out, the rice is grown, you get that beautiful green colour of the rice when it's 3/4 grown. Yeah. And everything feels fresh because when the rain comes down, you get that lovely smell, and it just freshens everything up. So I find it a really, really nice time to travel. You don't come to Northern Thailand to sit in the sun. It's not a beach holiday. And when it's cloudy, it just takes the edge off the heat, and you can go out, you can do so much more without getting overheated. So, I really like the rainy season.
Very good. And the rainy season, does that tend to be, you're sort of saying it's not as popular with the international visitors. Does it tend to be the quieter time in terms of tourism and visitors?
Yeah, it does. Now, in sort of June, July, August, you still get a little uptick in visitors from the European sort of university school holiday times. So you get that little uptake, but it is, particularly once you get to September, October, can be pretty quiet, which we find great. For us, it's still pretty busy, because I think we attract a slightly different kind of traveller. Yep. But overall, it's quite busy. Quite quiet. And I'd really urge people to come at that time of year because you get a really great sense of just how beautiful the area is.
Fantastic. And in terms of your own personal recommendations and top tips to get the most out of a trip to the region for anybody that's thinking about coming along to Northern Thailand in 2019?
Well, firstly, I would say come on a Tuk Tuk Club adventure. But I'd have to say that, wouldn't I? But if tuk-tuks aren't your thing and you want to do your own thing, or you're travelling independently, or you don't have time to do a tuk-tuk adventure, biggest advice I would have is, see the main sites. Wat Doi Suthep is beautiful, but it's very busy. But maybe have a look at places that aren't on the sort of mainstream tours. So if you're only going to visit one temple, go to Wat Doi Kam rather than Wat Doi Suthep. Great view still, really interesting temple. You rarely see anyone other than Thai people there, and that adds a little bit of extra, I think, to any travel experience to see what the people who live here are doing. My other big tip is get out of the city and spend some time sort of in the places that you wouldn't know why are you there. Sort of slow down, soak it up, spend time in a village, just sitting down watching the world go by. For me, that's where you get the best out of this part of the world. And if you're a sort of a health enthusiast, active, get on a bike and cycle. The cycling in the north of Thailand is amazing. And again, it's a great way to see the countryside and the people because you're going slow enough to take it all in. But my key thing is get off the beaten track. Don't go to the most famous riverside restaurant. go to somewhere like Mina, which is the most beautiful food in an amazing setting. And again, you very rarely see visitors going there because it's maybe a little harder to get to. But just be creative and you'll have an amazing time in the north.
This sounds perfect. And one last question for me is, in terms of the profile of visitors, you kind of touched on it there before, that a lot of visitors that you're seeing that are coming to Northern Thailand, and certainly that are joining you on the Tuk Tuk Club tours, tend to be those who are looking for more of an authentic experience and more of a sort of a cultural experience. Is there any particular age group, or does it sort of cross all boundaries, that type of tourism in Northern Thailand?
I think, well, both from what we do and then also seeing what goes on around us, I think it really does cross all boundaries. Ourselves, we've had trips with the youngest traveller being 18 and the oldest being 80 on the same trip, and all getting on famously. We see a lot of young travellers coming up to Northern Thailand, and we see a lot of sort of more experienced older people. So I think it's a mindset rather than an age thing. And I honestly think that once you see Northern Thailand, it's one of those places that until you get here, I can understand why people think, oh yes, Bangkok and a beach. But take a few days out of the beach and you will not regret it coming to the north of Thailand, because it is the people are charming, the food's great, and the whole climate and atmosphere is just wonderful. And beaches are beaches. There are beautiful beaches all over the world. There's only one Northern Thailand.
Love that. And for any listeners out there who are looking to join you on the Tuk Tuk Club tours, they can visit your website, which is the tuktukclub.com, I believe, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Jed. Yeah.
And also on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, yeah. I think if you want to get an idea of what we do, try and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We post images from every trip pretty much every day. And then the website's got video clips and all sorts, so that you can sort of hopefully see, it shows not just what the Tuk Tuk Club's about, but sort of the magic of Northern Thailand as well.
Absolutely. I was checking out your Instagram feed before, and some of the images on there with the tuk-tuks were just absolutely incredible. Incredible images and some incredibly picturesque scenes as well, which was certainly tempting me in as well.
Thanks for that, Jed. And the beauty is the scenes, I mean, the photos don't do it justice because they're all taken on an iPhone or a Samsung or something. So you can imagine just how beautiful it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, Bruce, where are you off to yourself? Where do you go for your vacations? You mean you're obviously living in paradise. Where are you off to?
Well, I'm going to go to, my next trip will actually be to the world's second paradise, which is Yorkshire. For me, the UK version of Northern Thailand, but with slightly better beer. But my next sort of big trip that I'm really wanting to do is a motorbike tour in northern India, up into the Himalaya. That really floats my boat. And then the big one is, I think I may have said this to you years ago, I've always wanted to drive from Thailand to the UK. So I think I might have to take one of our tuk-tuks out of commission and drive her back to Yorkshire. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
That would be sensational. You'd have to do some kind of video or podcast coverage for that.
Well, I'd have to justify it somehow, but yes, I would. Yeah.
That would be sensational. I'd certainly love to hear all about that.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that will be on the cards in the next couple of years or so.
Super. Well, listen, Bruce, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. The Tuk Tuk Club is an absolutely fantastic scheme, and I'd absolutely love to take one of the trips one day myself. And I would urge all of the listeners out there to have a look at the tuktukclub.com website, see what it's all about for yourself as well, and follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Try this authentic way of experiencing the true culture of Northern Thailand on Tuk Tuk. So Bruce, thanks a million again, and look forward to hearing about your next adventures. If indeed you do go overland from Thailand to the UK, we'd love to hear all about it.
Okay, we'll be in touch, Jed.
Thanks a million. And there you have it. If, like me, you're now keen to take a tuk-tuk tour of Northern Thailand, you can visit the Tuk Tuk Club at thetuktukclub.org and also follow them on Facebook and Instagram. My huge thanks again to today's guest, Bruce Haxton, for sharing his insights with us on this brilliant destination and indeed concept. As always, if you have any feedback or if there's a destination which you'd like to see featured in this series, please do email us at lowseasontraveller@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to share it with your friends and social networks. Please do subscribe to our podcasts on iTunes or Spotify or however else you receive your podcasts. And we've also got some brilliant podcasts coming up in the very near future, including Koshitse, Nuremberg, Bhutan, the Seychelles, Fiji, Okinawa and Malta. Remember, they're free for everyone, as we believe that travel is better without the crowds.